Sorry about that. Had a little battery emergency, but we're back. So, many of you have heard, of course, that probably over the weekend, that New York State Department of Health is allowing, or soon to be allowing, visitation for nursing home residents, well, both nursing home and assisted living. So that came as a bit of surprise to us, I guess. There was no forewarning. I know that they had been working on a plan, but we received news late Friday afternoon that is in fact true. So, obviously there's many positives in that, certainly for families and residents, but there's work to be done before we can get there. So even though New York State, you may have heard it or read about it, there's a plan that has to be put in place. So I have the directives from New York State Department of Health, which are here, which are about 6 pages long. And even though that, the visitation is opening up this week, we still have to go through and submit a plan, something called a safety plan, to the state of New York. It's actually, there's no date that it's due, but it's going to take us a few days to put this together. There's a bunch of criteria that we have to meet just before we can even submit the plan. Most of them we already meet, stuff that we've been doing all along, like temperatures and screening and social distancing and education and a lot of the stuff that we've been doing. So we're kind of going through this morning and formulating that plan from a criteria standpoint. Then, as part of that plan, or as the next step really, this is for, again, skilled nursing and assisted living. It is submitted to the state of New York, and they review it. And I don't know what their turnover time is going to be. Hopefully it's going to be rather quick. But once they review the plan for, again, both assisted living and skilled nursing and approve it, they'll let us know approval, and then we can move forward with visitation. What we're going to plan right now, we're working on what that visitation is going to look like. I can tell you that within the guidelines and what we're planning to do here, the visitation is going to take place outside. So for instance, here in Williamsville within skilled nursing, we have a courtyard that is accessible from the outside and it has a covered canopy, so we will be doing skilled nursing visitation outside in that courtyard using the coverage of the canopies, etc. If you hear that noise, I think it's a helicopter going over. So, as part of that visitation, there'll be social distancing. You will unfortunately not be able to embrace or hug your loved one. You're going to have to stay 6 to 8 feet apart. We will have to have, by the New York State regulations, we have to have a staff person out there monitoring, and we will have personal protective equipment available. If you don't bring your own, you will have to wear a mask. Visitors will have to wear a mask. There'll have to be hand washing stations or Purell stations. It's going to be pretty prescriptive. The resident will have to wear a mask as well, the resident that you are visiting, but you'll still have to be able to have that visit. And for those of you who haven't been that close to your resident a long time, which I know that many folks haven't, I know that a lot of people are looking forward to that. More to come on that as we continue to flesh this out. Everybody that comes on campus, for those of you who have been kind of visiting your loved ones in the nursing home or assisted living through the window, it'll be a similar setup in that you will it'll be done by an appointment, and it'll only be a couple of resident visitor situations that are going on at any time, so we can monitor that. Trying to think of a couple of things. Oh, you will have to have your temperature taken, you'll have to register, and so on. So more to come on that as we work through the plan. I know people are excited about it. We've already gotten a lot of calls. So skilled nursing will be in that courtyard. Assisted living visitation will actually be, the residents will be brought out the front door of Oxford. We have the covered portico share there, and chairs will be set up and so on. So assisted living will visit out there. Skilled nursing in the courtyard. And assisted living, of which there's less than a handful of folks at Gate Circle, will be able to go right outside to the tent and visit there, and that'll be monitored as well. So we have the basic systems in place. It's really just, again, getting the process approved by the state of New York, working out the kinks. We are calling, as of today, we're going to be calling every single family member for all of the residents, not every single family member, but their contact people that we work with as family members from a decision-making standpoint. We'll be reaching out to all of you, or all of them, over the next couple of days to let them know that yes, we are moving forward with this, to briefly explain what the process might be, and to just give them kind of a sense of timing, etc. So again, bear with us. It is going to take us a couple of days to put this plan together, and it'll probably take a couple of days after that for the state of New York to be able to approve it. I would like to say that maybe by the end of the week we'll be ready to go. Certainly that's our goal. I just can't guarantee it, but we're going to move as quickly as possible. I can tell you that all of this is based upon the baseline that we've already set for ourselves. So if a resident comes down with COVID, comes positive, then visitation will have to go away. If a staff member tests positive for COVID, then a visitation will have to go away. And those are written into the guidelines. So you have to maintain a certain you have to maintain zero COVID in your facility in order to have visitation. You actually, if you had COVID previously, you have to be COVID-free for several weeks, even to open up visitation. So fortunately here at Canterbury Woods, we qualify because obviously we've been very fortunate and we haven't had any COVID residents, positive residents. We've had a few staff, as I've talked about, but none in several weeks. So we do qualify right away, and I think we're probably fairly unique as a nursing home to be able to do that. So again, we're going to move as quickly as possible. More to come on that on Wednesday, of course, because obviously we realize this is a very important thing. The other thing I want to talk about today, and I'm more talking to staff members who may be watching this or who watch this, and residents themselves. So I talk a lot about mask usage and residents appropriately wearing their masks, and staff members appropriately wearing their masks, and that continues to wax and wane. Sometimes for a couple of days in a row, as I'll see that both residents and staff members are doing well, and then for whatever reason, we don't do well. So let's talk about it like this, and say very directly that, and I said this to the leadership team department heads this morning, if anybody thinks that I'm gonna let my guard down, or organizationally let us let our guard down for a second, just because we're doing well in Western New York, just because we haven't had any cases, if anybody thinks that I'm gonna let my guard down, they're kidding yourself, because I will not hesitate, and I will continue not to hesitate to address staff members directly if they're not wearing their mask. And I have done that, and I did it several times last week. Sometimes those conversations aren't pleasant for staff members, I realize that. But at the end of the day, there's way too much at stake, as we know. The health and safety of our residents, the health and safety of our staff, way too much at stake for us for a second to let our guard down. We have many staff members that are younger, that are in their 20s, 30s, and we know that unfortunately those are the group of people now that are actually getting the cases because of the opening up of the communities, and they're socializing more, and so certainly that's a risk for us. So I want to reiterate that the expectation for us as staff members here at Canterbury Woods has not changed just because it's not April or May. It's July and August. It's still as serious today as it was the first day that we closed down the campus, the first day that we mandated masks. Moving on to residents, the same thing. For the most part, residents are doing a great job, and I thank you so much. You're really working to keep each other safe and your loved ones safe, and staff. but some residents unfortunately aren't. And I'll say it to those residents as well, if you think that we're going to let our guard down, and if you're not wearing your mask correctly, and if you're not doing that repeatedly, that we're going to not address it with you, I'm sorry, but that's not the case. And I'm sorry if residents sometimes don't like the fact that they're being addressed because they're not wearing a mask according to our policy, wearing it wholly over your nose. But we simply are not going to let our guard down. If you don't wear your mask, if you don't wear it correctly, here at Canterbury Goods, according to our policy, which is in all common areas, moving through the facilities, moving through all of our communities, you will be addressed and you will be asked to put a mask on and wear it appropriately. Please understand where we're coming from. I know that you do. I know sometimes we all forget. I get that. Unfortunately, what I see a lot is a lot of ill-fitting masks on residents that just don't stay up. We will continue to work with those residents and ask them if they would like a better fitting mask, something that's going to fit over their nose and not slide down. Thank you, and I'll be here again on Wednesday.